In this episode, we are going to talk about lots of explanations, plenty of theories, and hidden things. You are going to really enjoy watching it. In this, I have talked about a lot of things that almost reveal the mystery of this town. So, at the beginning of From Season 4, Episode 5, Donna, Ellis, Patty, and Roger are seen staring at the thing that had surfaced from the water. Patty is worried that it might be a corpse, and now there was only one way to find out what it really was, to check it up close. Roger, on the other hand, was a bit scared. He felt like he didn't know what new horror was about to be unleashed upon them. But Donna gives a direct order that everyone should work together to pull that thing to the shore. However, Roger was so scared that he didn't even touch the rope. He just stood to the side as if he would be cursed if he did, while Donna, Patty, and Ellis do all the heavy work and manage to pull these things to the shore. Meanwhile, while all this is happening, Ethan and Tabby are near the cabin, burying the bird that Ethan had tried to save. Ethan had thought that maybe the lake water would heal the bird, and that's why he had poured water over it. This means that there is no special power in the lake, or at least, there is definitely no healing power. In other words, it shouldn't be called the Lake of Tears, but rather the Lake of Fears. Anyway, when the mother and son reach the rest of the group, they see that what was pulled out of the lake are not actually corpses, but life-size dolls, that is, scarecrows. Donna even tears open the chest of one of the dolls to check if there is anything strange inside, like maybe a corpse, but inside there is only wool and cloth stuffing. Although no one there notices this, if you look closely, the outer skin of the dolls is wet, but the stuffing inside is completely dry. And this is quite weird because if those dolls had been submerged in water for even a few hours, the water should have seeped inside. But these had apparently been inside for ages, so how did the water not get in? Either these dolls come out alive, or maybe the outer layer is waterproof. Donna believes that maybe these were kept inside the lake so that whatever is in the lake can't come out. But there could be another possibility, and it's strange that Donna isn't considering it. Maybe the job of these scarecrows is to stop people from going into the lake and exploring. Anyway, whatever the truth is, the group finally decides to fill the dolls with stones again and throw them back into the lake so that they can keep doing whatever it was they were doing inside. Now, Tabby slowly starts having visions of those dolls she might have played with as a child, but these dolls were quite small, not as big as the ones now. Suddenly, Donna notices that Tabby seems a bit lost, and she recognizes this look, as if Tabby's attention is somewhere else, meaning she's having visions. Donna takes her aside and asks what's going on, what's on her mind. Tabby says she's seeing something strange, but she herself can't understand what it means. Donna asks if it's something bad or good, but Tabby has no idea. So for now, everyone decides to set these visions aside and focus on putting the scarecrows back into the lake. Anyway, as everyone is preparing for the night, there's a small emotional moment between Ethan and Donna. Donna is sitting by the fire, and Ethan tells her that their plan was that if they left now, they wouldn't be able to reach the town, so it's better to rest in the cabin tonight. With the first rays of morning, they'll reach the town with the vegetables. We also noticed that while Ethan and Donna were talking, Tabby was listening to everything, trying to remember something. She is closely observing the protective voodoo dolls placed there, hoping that something will come back to her memory. Anyway, now that night, we see that while everyone is trying to sleep inside the cabin, suddenly a song-like sound starts coming from outside. That song triggers an old memory inside Tabby, as if she knows this song. Maybe it's a memory from one of her past incarnations. Because of that memory, little Tabby was playing with the smaller versions of those big dolls. Then a man, who might have been her father, or maybe someone else, snatches those dolls away from her. He says that these dolls give him nightmares, and then he throws those dolls into the lake. Later, that man goes mad, because in his nightmares, she would appear to him exactly like that. And from this, a very interesting detail emerges. You might remember that Sarah's brother, Nathan, was also very afraid of Cicada, and the moment he died, the very next instant, that's when Cicada made her entrance there. So this man was afraid of scarecrows, meaning the larger versions of these very dolls, and later those same monsters came out. Now here Tabby realizes that it would be better to get bitten by the monster, because these dolls are extremely dangerous. They need to get out of there right now. Tabby starts to panic a lot. In fact, we see one of her memories, in which something is scaring her past self from atop a rock, which is probably these same dolls. But Donna and Alice, they remind her that there are talismans placed around the cabin that will protect them. But Tabby, still scared, says that maybe the talismans only work on creatures. Just then, a scarecrow breaks through the cabin wall and comes inside, going straight for Roger and killing him. It shoved its hand into his mouth and broke his jaw, and he was the only person who was actually being sensible, saying that taking these dolls outside was pointless. but no one listened to him. And the most shocking thing is that now there are only 46 residents left in the town. That is, 46 people remain. So if anyone is keeping count, remember this now. And maybe the theory about there being 47 people is wrong, and if that theory is correct, then perhaps a new person should enter the town now. Or maybe the massacre was getting very close now. Anyway, at that moment, the second scarecrow attacks Patty Q and presses one side of her face onto the coals that Donna had set on fire, causing her to scream. But Alice separates from the rest of the group and saves her just in time. Then, the scarecrow's hand also catches fire, and this scene was actually quite funny. Anyway, just then, a third scarecrow is about to finish off Donna, but Tabby stops it. She pulls out the same protective voodoo doll and shoves it inside the scarecrow, which immediately destroys it. It falls right there, kind of becomes inactive, and this voodoo doll was actually attached to a spear, which is how Tabby was able to do it. Tabby says that now she remembers how to hurt these things, and maybe after hearing this, the scarecrow that was attacking Patty also, the power to defeat these scarecrows was inside Tabby, since she was the one who made those dolls. And the biggest thing is that they only caught Donna, they didn't attack Tabby. So did these dolls remember their owner? Anyway, now we come to the clinic scene where Christy and Mariel are together, tending to Sophia's broken wrist. When Christy properly sets the bone, she tells Mariel to bring the brace. Now Mariel goes towards the ambulance to get the brace, and there, for a moment, she meets Julie and Randall. Seeing the expressions on both of their faces, it is clear that they are not happy with the outcome of their story-walking adventure. They are quite upset. Anyway, now Mariel compliments Julie on her newly cut hair, to which Julie thanks her. But since bringing the braces was more important at that moment, Mariel couldn't stop to talk with them. Here, the fact that all three of them are in the same frame means that all three had seizures, and inside the dungeon, the souls of all three were tormented greatly. Anyway, Mariel then starts opening the cabinets inside the ambulance to look for the braces. But then, something very creepy happens. Two chains suddenly come out of the cabinet with handcuffs attached to them. They trap Mariel inside the ambulance, and at the same time, the ambulance radio turns on, and a loud scream can be heard from it, as if someone's soul is in agony. Seeing all this, Mariel is in a terrible state and becomes very scared, and she starts having flashbacks to the night of the seizures from previous seasons, where Martin was tormented, and where their souls, Randall's, Julie's, and Mariel's, had also gone. Now, since Mariel doesn't return for quite a while, Christy herself comes to the ambulance. There, she finds Mariel curled up and crying near the driver's area. But when Christy asks her, anyway, after a while it's shown that Sophia has found her braces and is now wandering around the storage unit area. This was where the belongings of the deceased were kept. Basically, it was the janitor's room. Then she overhears Julie and Randall arguing, and the two of them were fighting about story walking. And by looking at Sophia's expressions, it was clear that she was enjoying watching the two of them fall apart. Basically, Randall keeps calling Julie stupid, saying that doing all this is pointless, but Julie stands her ground, insisting that she'll take this risk. If there's even a 1% chance to save her dad, she'll keep story walking, no matter if she gets a seizure sign or anything else. And look, one thing was clear, the man in the yellow suit really enjoys tormenting people here. And here's another interesting detail. I noticed something that I might have missed before. Just before that, the man in the yellow suit took off his clothes and threw them right there, which Victor later found. But notice one thing, he ate Sophia's clothes because his hands were near his mouth and he was laughing. As soon as he swallowed Sophia's clothes and glasses, changes immediately started happening inside him and he transformed into Sophia. That means, if he wants to become the man in the yellow suit again, maybe he'll need those same clothes. I could be wrong though anyway. Now Sophia shifts her focus away from Julie and Randall, and even though they might want to deny it, they clearly give off a couple vibe. Anyway, now Sophia's attention turns to the other fighting couple. That is, Christy and Mariel. Now Mariel keeps insisting at the bar that she just had a small mental breakdown, and honestly, that's a normal thing for anyone living in this crazy town. But Christy wasn't ready to believe her. She felt, and it was true, that when Mariel was leaving after talking to Christy, she bumped into Sophia. Sophia just touches her hand, and immediately Mariel starts seeing those horrifying visions again. That means the man in yellow was behind all of this. Whatever happened to Julie, Mariel, and Randall was all his doing. Now Mariel feels as if she's once again chained up inside that dungeon, experiencing unbearable pain. So real. But as soon as she touches Mariel, the illusion immediately breaks. Now, both Christy and Mariel are trying to understand exactly what just happened, while Sophia stands to the side watching everything with a creepy smile. Because all of this was her doing. That is, the one tormenting the souls of Julie, Randall, and Marielle inside that dungeon is this very man in the yellow suit, and he was also the one who wronged Martin. He must have been the one who put those worms inside Martin as well. Even back then, Martin had said that there are things here far more dangerous than monsters, and he also said that before the ballet dancing toy wins down, he should leave this place. Otherwise, he will come. And in my opinion, that is this yellow suit man. And it was mentioned earlier that he is even more dangerous than the monster. Things are present here, like the yellow suit man and that scarecrow age. Neither of them were afraid of those talisman men. Anyway, later on, Sophia serves Marielle a drink, and that's when Christy finally tries to properly talk to Marielle and tells her that whatever she's been feeling all day, she can honestly share it with her. And this time, Marielle opens up and talks freely. Marielle explains that she often feels as if she's still trapped inside that dungeon, and not only does she feel her own pain, but she can also sense the pain of every person who ever perished in this town. Marielle says that she tries hard to make herself feel normal, but she just can't escape that feeling. It seems like an almost impossible task, and so now she feels like her only option is to somehow keep enduring that pain. Then Sophia says another creepy line. She says that this means Marielle might actually be a prophet, and that God has chosen her to feel everyone's pain. Marielle finds this idea completely ridiculous and immediately gets up, leaving the conversation and starting to walk away. But as she's leaving, Marielle says something important. She says that she doesn't think all this is God's doing. According to her, this is the work of some ancient entity, and the energy feels completely ancient. And if it were God, he wouldn't draw energy from people's suffering. This is definitely ancient and evil, so that's the theory here so far. This is exactly what it says. If a person dies inside this town, maybe they can never actually leave. Instead, they just become a screaming echo, like how Boyd keeps seeing Abby here. And I feel that all the damned souls here, who are suffering so much, end up becoming part of someone else's nightmares and hauntings in the future. Like so far, everyone here has seen someone or the other, and honestly, it's pretty disturbing. Anyway, now moving on to the other side, inside Colony House. Fatima was still busy making that golem, and she had managed to give it a pretty good shape. Just then, Kenny comes into her room to check on her and also to apologize. Kenny admits that he doubted Fatima, and in his view, doubt leads to distrust, and distrust only makes an already messy situation even worse. Especially in this town, they need to stick together. Now that this awkward matter is cleared up, Kenny asks Fatima what exactly she feels whenever she forms a psychic connection with the smiley creature. Fatima can't really explain that connection in detail. She just says that the feeling is extremely frightening, so creepy that she has to go to the window again and again to check if Smiley is standing outside. She feels that sooner or later she will have to face it. Fatima feels that this feeling is a warning sign of some great danger, as if Smiley is eventually going to reach her doorstep. But the problem is, she herself doesn't know what she should do when that happens. Kenny honestly can't give any answer to this, so he just tells Fatima that if she ever needs any kind of help, she can call out to him directly. Fatima also sincerely assures him that if the situation ever becomes truly serious, she will definitely reach out and ask him for his help. Anyway, just as Kenny is slowly leaving the room, he notices Henry, who is quietly sitting there all by himself. Then Henry warmly invites Kenny to join him for a drink, but Kenny politely refuses the offer because he believes that not every single sorrow and pain can be simply cured with alcohol. A little while later, Victor finds Henry in the dining room, and Henry had already drunk so much that he was no longer fully conscious of his surroundings. He just kept staring intensely at the drawing in which his beloved wife Miranda was killed by the mysterious man in the yellow suit. Victor tries his best to reason with him, but Henry starts yelling and talking complete nonsense in his name, even though it is perfectly clear to everyone that the painful truth of Miranda's death is slowly eating him up inside. The guilt was slowly eating him up deep inside. Victor tries his absolute best to calm Henry down, but he finds that he is completely unable to handle him anymore. Anyway, just then, Kenny steps forward and tries to pull Henry out of that emotional pit into which he was sinking even deeper. Honestly, this whole scene is quite depressing and feels heavier with every passing moment. What Henry and Victor are feeling is already heartbreaking, but the most emotional thing is Kenny being there. Kenny is someone who never even got a proper chance to say goodbye to either his mother or father, and maybe that's why, for him, those people who still have a family member alive are very lucky. And yet, Henry kept telling Kenny, "What would you understand about what I'm feeling? even though Kenny was actually the saddest person there. But the interesting thing is that Kenny doesn't get jealous of them. Instead, he wants people to value their families and family bonds. Anyway, Kenny finally manages to calm Henry down. He takes him to the room with Victor and lays him down on the bed. Anyway, as soon as Henry lies down, he immediately falls asleep, after which Kenny asks Victor why Henry had such a major breakdown. Just then, Victor shows Kenny the photo in which everything that happened to his mother, Miranda, is depicted, that is, the yellow suit. The man had eaten her, and after learning this truth, along with his father, he indirectly reveals that there is an even bigger monster in this town than these monsters. Anyway, on the other hand, Jade and Boyd are sitting inside the office and waiting to see when the mushrooms that Jade ate will start to take effect. After a little while, Jade suddenly starts seeing spiders, which means the mushrooms have started to take effect. And these spiders have been shown repeatedly throughout the entire season, so it seems like they are connected to the town, or perhaps to the man in the yellow suit. Now, as soon as Jade sees those spiders, he starts to panic. The light on the board sign in front of him is also flickering, so Jade calls out to Boyd, "Boyd!" He explains to him that the spiders aren't real and sits Jade down. Together, they decide how to handle this dangerous drug trip. Jade says that Boyd will have to tell him what is real and what is an illusion, and then he decides on a safe word, which is Capricorn. He says that memories of his past incarnations are going to come into his mind like a flood, and that's why the two of them head out. Now Jade considers the "this way" sign at the motel, which was flickering as I mentioned before, as a clue and starts walking in that direction. Boyd doesn't question any of his weird methods and just follows him. As they keep walking, they gradually reach deep into the forest. There, regarding the mystery of his previous incarnations and their memories, since he hadn't asked any questions about it yet, how would a memory be triggered? And now, as soon as he asks, after a short delay, he sees his 12-year-old younger self, that is, a young boy playing the violin. The most disturbing thing is that he's playing the same tune that Jade played on the day his grandmother died, and he kept playing that tune all day. But Jade didn't want to know all this. He wanted to see something that could help him get out of the town. As soon as he sees this sight, Jade starts to panic completely and immediately tells Boyd to get him out of there. But the situation was getting creepier and creepier. Suddenly, it's seen that the 12-year-old young Jade and that ghost, the injured man with the sharp chisel still stuck in his eye, and the young Jade work together to corner the other Jade. Now, the man with the chisel in his eye begins signaling urgently to Jade, pointing directly at the ancient skull he is firmly holding in his hand. Because if he drinks that blood, those memories will be activated, memories that he probably never wants to see. And in this town, we don't get to choose our memories. Even then, Boyd interrupts and says that the blood isn't real, so there's nothing to be afraid of. Just drink it, maybe something will come back to you. Under Boyd's pressure, Jade finally agrees and gulps down the blood from the skull as if it were a berry. But as soon as the skull is emptied, Jade sees spiders inside it. By then, it was too late, and the effects of the drug and visions had fully kicked in. The memories start coming back, and it's clear that the spiders here symbolize the web that has been spun, trapping everyone in this town. After this, Jade starts following his younger version, and Boyd is also following both of them. The young Jade leads them to the colony house. Once there, young Jade sees someone with a chisel stuck in their eye, someone else with a stone placed on them, and another whose throat had been slit. Jade observes them closely and realizes that all of these are his own past incarnations. That is, Jade is the 5th incarnation here. At least, that's what it seems so far. And when he inspects more closely, he discovers something even more horrifying. These people weren't killed by the creatures, but by humans. Jade, shocked, asks young Jade who killed them all. Then young Jade says a strange line. Minos, Ine, Shark, Snat, and Jade. This makes him realize that perhaps each of his incarnations was killed by his own friends and neighbors. But why? Young Jade explains that whenever people found out that the children were calling Jade, the residents themselves would turn against him, thinking that maybe all of this happened because of Jade. That is, K. Then the young man Z says that Tabby's future is going to be even more dangerous, even worse than Z's. So maybe there's a hidden message here that Z will have to secretly answer those children's calls, maybe he'll have to work solo, and whatever rescue mission is planned, he'll have to carry it out quietly and very carefully. Because if the people of the town get wind of it or find out the truth, then Z will meet the same fate as his previous incarnation, that is, Z's PR. But at this moment, Z is so high that he can't properly understand anything, and he just keeps yelling at the young man, Z, and the other incarnations. Then, all the ghosts suddenly go inside the colony house and disappear. Z also follows them inside, but as he enters, he suddenly finds himself inside the storage shed, the same place where Boyd had told Acosta to dig, meaning the past. to find out about the residents. That is, to find out about the past residents, meaning those who are not present now, those who lived there at another time. Boyd also follows him for this reason and demands answers, but instead of responding, Jade tells Boyd to help him move some things. Together, they move the items and discover a hidden door underneath. This is exactly what young Jade wanted to show. When Jade goes inside that door, he finds himself in a long passageway. There, he loses contact with Boyd, and in that passage he sees a spider again. He keeps moving forward and finally reaches those underground tunnels where the creatures lived. There, Boyd meets him again and urgently tells him that they need to leave immediately because this is the creature's territory. But Jade doesn't listen to Boyd and then reaches the clearing where the smiley creature was born. However, this place looks quite different from the present time. Now, in the center, there was a large grave, and around it, 7 rocks were placed in a circle. You might remember that in previous seasons, Jade only saw 7 stones and some children, but this time, there was also a grave in the center. Before Jade can understand anything, the creatures surround him. Now, one of the creatures says that he has always been stubborn and foolish, while Boyd is sensible. This means that these creatures, like memory walkers, can also capture Jade. And I think I've given the right name. Just like Julie is a story walker, Jade, in my opinion, is a memory walker here. They forcibly push him into the grave and place a large stone on top, which was already there. As Jade's visibility starts to fade, he sees an angry child who is calling out to him saying, "Remember us." We also see that there are a lot of bones in the background, meaning the angry children were definitely buried here. Anyway, at this point, the scene becomes very terrifying, and the children are still telling Jade to remember them. Anyway, at the end of episode 5, there's a very shocking reveal. Jade suddenly returns to reality and realizes that he never actually left the chair in that room. Meaning he never went to the forest, nor did he. Meaning he never went to the forest, nor did he revisit his own past. He never actually met his incarnations in reality. The whole time, he was just sitting in the office chair, hallucinating. I realized this as soon as Boyd went with him into his memories, into the colony house, where there was no one else. So it was very clear that Boyd and everything else was happening only in his mind, and it's just not possible that Boyd would quietly follow him without asking any questions. But this doesn't mean that his trip was completely useless. In fact, the main purpose of the mushrooms was to unlock the memories of his past incarnations, and that's exactly what happened. Anyway, at that moment, the real Boyd arrives and helps Jade, telling him that he was here the whole time and never went anywhere else either. But now Jade was happy and fully confident that he understood how to save the anguished children and how to escape from this terrifying cursed township. If I had to guess what Jade's plan could be, the first step would definitely be secrecy, meaning he has to work quietly without letting the townspeople know anything, because the violin and the tunes were playing a very important role. And the third step is almost certainly connected to the tunnel, specifically to that grave around which 7 stones were placed, where 7 children were sacrificed, and inside the central grave, there were probably a lot of bones as well. The children were probably sacrificed and buried right there, and whatever this entity is, it's ancient. As Marielle had mentioned, maybe the location of some key is also there. If Jade fails, then the same fate will befall him as it did his previous incarnations. And boom, with this, Season 4's 5th episode ends right here. So friends, this was the explanation of From Season 4, Episode 5, and trust me, this was the best episode of the series so far. We learn a lot of things here. Now let's talk about it. Let's talk about some theories and hidden things. From JD's memory, we learned that this is definitely some spider-based ancient entity that is evil, and it is trapping people and their souls here and tormenting them. Now, the yellow suit. It's still not clear whether the yellow suit man is its master, or just another form of it. But whenever this spider appears, for some reason, I keep remembering the spider scene from Harry Potter. You might also be wondering that ever since the yellow suit man arrived here, the angry children haven't been seen around. Maybe they're afraid that Sophia might find out everything. And that's why they entered Jade's mind and showed her all these visions. But this monster was appearing to Jade even inside her memory, which is also proof of the power of this ancient evil. That means it was stopping her even there. And yes, if Jade is destroyed by humans in every cycle, then this means that Tabby is emptied by the yellow man in every cycle. The man in yellow here draws power from everyone's fear and distress. And now I also understand why he consumes people. Because when people die in fear, the evil really enjoys it. Basically, for the yellow man, they must taste delicious, and that's why he scares people and then kills them, and after that, he eats them. We've seen this happen many times. In horror movies, we've seen that ancient evils first scare people, threaten them, and weaken them a lot before finally killing them. Here, repeatedly mocking God is a sign that this evil entity does not consider itself any less than God. For example, the bird that Ethan buried? It's possible it could come back to life. Or, another bizarre theory is that just like cicadas appeared after Nathan's death, who was his nightmare, similarly, scarecrows appeared, who were the nightmare of the man present in Tabby's dreams or memories. That is, after anyone in this town dies, perhaps their nightmares become part of the town. And now, maybe this bird will turn into a creature from someone else's nightmare. And now, maybe this bird will turn into a creature from someone else's nightmare. Maybe from Roger's nightmare. And because of this, the Lake of Fears is absolutely perfect. Who knows if this is a special characteristic of the entity in this town? Maybe everything that's happening here is happening in this way. That is, whatever nightmares people have here, all of them get added. We just need to find out exactly which entity this is. The one to whom the townspeople sacrificed their children. Anyway, all the past versions of Tabby and Jade, they definitely kept failing to save these children, and the years that were written inside the lighthouse, those are definitely cycles from the past, just like I already mentioned in Season 1, and it's just a matter of time before everything is revealed. For example, the existence of the spider creature is absolutely confirmed. And what if the crows that are coming here are actually the souls of past residents? The man in the yellow suit didn't seem too happy to see them. More things are becoming clear to me, like maybe the man in yellow can't directly kill Jade, and that's why she was killed by the townspeople instead, and only after that could Tabby, that is Miranda, be killed. We saw that the smiley man chased Miranda near the border tree, but when the yellow man ate her, she was still alive before that. So I feel like it's love that makes the yellow man weak, and both Miranda and Christopher loved each other a lot, which is why it wasn't easy to break them. This creature feeds off suffering and draws energy from it, so that's why Jade was killed by the townspeople, and after that, he ate Tabby. But the 12-year-old Jade also said that Tabby would have it even worse in every cycle, just like the yellow suit man ate her in the 1970s.